Hello, welcome back to my channel. Thank you so much for joining me today. Today I am here to do my December daily process videos for days 5 through 10. I thought I was gonna do them in chunks of 5, but I ended up not doing day 5 as part of the last video. So we're gonna start with day 5 today, which is my family photo session. So I got a lot of pictures printed from the photo session. I got 2 of Sam and I that I absolutely loved in a 3x4 size. I got 1 of us in masks in 3x4, and then I got 2 4x6 sizes. So now I'm going to grab some page protectors. Oh, I actually grabbed the numbers first. I grab all the 5s. And then I grab 2 kinds of page protectors. So I grab the 2 4x6 that I'm going to put those photos in. And then I grab 1 of the 4 3x4s, which you will see, or 4 3x4s rather, and you'll see that I actually end up cutting that one down. I used to have some of these like half insert ones that are 3x8 and have 2 of those, but I didn't have any. So I actually cut to make my own. And so on one side, I'm putting the journal card that I'm going to write on, and then the picture of my family with the masks. And on the other side, I'm going to put the 2 photos of Sam and I, and then across, so it's almost like a layout, I'm going to put the 2 4x6 photos. So then I decide to use this big number 5, and I'm actually going to punch it to go in front of the page protectors. So now I'm trying to pick out some embellishments. I really like the way that that red felt heart matches my sister's sweater. So I put that on the photo with Sam and I with this little heart eyes wood veneer piece. I have no idea where that came from. And now I'm trying to figure out the other side with my family photos. And I really am trying to play around with a bunch of different stars because I had that red felt star. And so then I was going to be able to pull in the red felt on both sides. And I started to kind of put together this star collage that kind of overlapped between the 2 photos. So I'm basically pulling out every kind of star that I own and trying to make a little collage of stars, similar to what I did in the last video with the hearts and what I did for One Little Word with the hearts. So all the different stars and kind of merging those 2 photos together. So some of them will go directly on the photo under the page protector, and then some of them will actually go on the outside of the page protectors because it's overlapping both photos. I probably could have figured out a different way to do that, like stuck these photos together on an 8x10 and stuck it in an 8x10 page. I don't know. There were definitely other options, but this is what I end up doing. So I spend a while trying to organize my stars and figure out where I want them to go. And then I end up taking a picture with my phone. That's the best way I know so that I can start actually putting them down without forgetting where everything was. And so I've done that before with memory keeping, where I take a picture of something on my phone so that I don't actually forget. So now I'm going over peeling the plastic piece off of the 5 and then trying to figure out where to punch it, where I kind of want it to land. So I put the photo in so I can see where I want the 5 to go, to see if it's, covering people's faces or not covering people's faces. And I end up taping the 5 to the page protector in order to hole punch it because I could not hold it together. It was not working out well. So now I am writing out the story of our family photos. I talked about this a little bit in the vlog, but normally we take family photos much later in the year. But we were able to take them early since Sam and I are here in Chicago, which I know my mom was really appreciative of. And we also took a photo in a mask because it's 2020. We got these cute Christmas themed, although you can't see because they're so far out. We got these cute Christmas patterned masks. They're reusable. We got them at Nordstrom Rack, and you can't even see it in the photo because it's so zoomed out, but they were really cute. And we coordinated everybody's outfit and it was all planned, but oh well. I end up sticking this little sticker because I don't get all the way to the bottom. Now I'm going through these little chipboard pieces. I don't necessarily love these. I don't love how I have them organized for sure, because going through them is definitely a pain. But I picked out one. I'm pretty sure, I can't see it right now, but I'm pretty sure one says smile and then one says traditions, because taking family photos is always a tradition that we do every single year. So now I'm sticking down the embellishments on the photo of Sam and I. I'm so glad that I asked the photographer to take a couple of just Sam and I, since we had some extra time. It doesn't take, a full hour session. Actually, it was only a half-hour session, but even to get a photo for my mom's Christmas card, we had plenty of extra time. And the photographer was super nice, so we got some cute ones of Sam and I. And I really like that dress, so I'm really happy about that. So I stick those in, and now moving over to the star piece and trying to figure out how I'm going to put all of these down. So I start by putting down the ones that are definitely only on one picture. Like, that's the easy part, right? The stars that are only on one picture. So I'm using my red line tape to get down most of these little tiny white stars. star is a huge pain trying to cut it down. I don't know if I need like an X-Acto knife for my red line tape. I just feel like there's got to be a better way to get like those little tiny pieces down. That's not me trying to cut the red line tape with my scissors and then figure it out from there. So I finally get those stars down. And then I stick the pictures in and I go to do the stars that are on the outside. And some of them are pretty easy. That big one is just a sticker, so stick that one down. And then the felt and the cork, I can just use another piece of red line tape and get those down. And then it's time for the plastic star. And I struggle with this a little bit because for the plastic pieces, I typically staple them with the tiny attacher because I don't like being able to see adhesive through it. And it took me a while to figure out how to do that without stapling the whole thing together, but I ended up, being able to do that. And then for a second, I thought I was going to add some stars to the 5 to kind of continue the star theme, but it felt really repetitive from that number 1 that I put the stars on. So I decided not to do it. I also realized I didn't punch enough holes in the 5, so I had to go back and do that after I turned the camera off too. All right. The next day, I actually do 2 stories at once. So I was a day behind. So I'm doing both Sunday and Monday stories together. And so I got both pictures printed and I'm kind of doing them at the same time instead of doing one and then doing the other. I think there's pros and cons to that. One is you could see I make a lot of decisions. I change my mind a lot, let's put it that way, during this process because I'm working on both sides and I kind of change things around and I change my mind. Like for instance, I start with this big felt 7 on the 7 page and then I eventually go and use the felt page on the 6 side rather than normally I just would have done the 6 and then the 7 would have happened however it would happen. So the 6th story is about us going for a walk. We went for a walk on Sunday. If you watched that vlog, that turned into a little bit of an adventure. And I took some other pictures of stuff, but I also had my mom take this picture of Sam and I actually at the place and that we stopped at for drinks. And I don't love it. I don't love the picture. That's all I'm going to say. But I ended up using it because I think it's important to use the pictures. And I think back to when I look at pictures of like my mom and my grandmother, my great grandmother, like I'm not looking at whether she looked the most glamorous in that picture. Like I'm looking at, was she happy? I'm looking at what kind of clothes was she wearing? What was she holding? I'm way more interested in those kinds of things than I am in like the details of her aesthetic, I guess is what I'm trying to say. So right now I'm just playing with the different embellishments, trying to figure out what I want to go where. I pulled out that little heart to go on the picture of Sam and I for a while consider I'm going to use this Believe on that felt 7. The hard part with it is what I really don't like is I don't know how to get it down without being able to see what I'm using. I remember doing day 1 and I used the other little gold word. I think it was the word magic. And I use a little piece of red line tape, but there was a part in that made it easier. The Believe is a little bit harder. So now I'm trying to use these big blank stickers to try and figure out actually where I'm going to write the words because the pattern papers that I've chose don't really have a space to write because there's a pattern there. So I kind of take a break from that because I don't really like how that works. And now here I am grabbing more 6s because I don't like the black 6 that I've chosen to put there. And I'm also looking for maybe some other pattern paper to put on the page 7 because I didn't like the way that little sticker square looked on that page. So now I'm trying to find a different 7, no more felt 7. Still moving around. I really like the Love This Day square. I really wanted to use it on that layout, but ended up moving it from page 6 to page 7. And now I'm going to dig for something else because I decided I didn't like that black 6 and I'm going to use that green paper that I used the other day. And now I'm going to use the felt 6 and the little lined page on top of it to actually write the story and then use the big felt number 6. So I'm kind of playing with where those are going to go and the order I'm going to put everything on. Again, moving the Love This Day chipboard piece around a lot. So now that I've pulled the stripes over to day 6, I need to find a new card for day 7. So I go through all of the extra cards that I brought. Nothing really is jumping out at me. I do have a lot of options, but for whatever reason, none of them are ones that I feel like I can write. I really like pages with lines. I really like the pages that are just better for me to write. So this page that I ended up choosing is a 4x6 that I'm going to end up cutting down. And you cannot really tell from the lighting, but it has a really faint gray chevron on the back. But again, you can't really tell from the lighting. And I'll end up cutting that down a little bit later. So now I'm trying to figure out what I want for the number on day 7. And I end up choosing the black one and putting it on that sort of patterned paper, moving the Love This Day around again. Now do I want some hearts to mark how much I love that day. The day 7 is the day of the story of Cultivate Your Year Live, which was the event that we worked on our power sheets together. So I decided to switch from hearts to stars. Now I'm trying to put some little stars again. I have a hard time with hearts and stars just doing one. I feel like it needs friends. So I end up pulling 3 little stars and putting that on the page that I took of myself. That picture I actually just took on my camera that I film on. I set it up on my water bottle or my water cup and turned it on and just let it film while I made some poses. And then I screenshotted it on my editing software. So I love the way that that turned out. Now I am working on the page 6 kind of journaling. So I'm using red line tape to stick down the 6 and stick down that little gold star that I'm kind of putting in the center of the 6. And then that lined paper on top of that green pattern paper. I do like that I'm using the rest of that green pattern paper after cutting it up on day 1. I really like that. If you didn't see my day 1 video, I used that green pattern paper earlier in my project. Let me know down in the comments. Are you liking these videos? Did you watch the first one and now you're watching the second one? Let me know if you are enjoying having these as part of Vlogmas, having them be their own separate videos versus being a part of the vlog, which is what I did last year. So now I am writing the journaling for day 6, talking all about our adventure of the walk, visiting the squirrel, going to the mall just to get warm and to see the decorations. And I took a lot of great pictures of the decorations, but for whatever reason, I really decided again to just use this picture of Sam and I, although I do note in the journaling that it is not my favorite picture of Sam and I. I just wanted to have that on record. So that's basically the end of day 6. I end up putting that little chipboard heart on the picture of Sam and I, and that's it for day 6. However, when I go to stick the card into the page protectors, I realize that because those stars that I had overlapped the day before actually make it really difficult. And eventually I'm going to have to go re-glue that chipboard star because it ended up falling off. So I'm sticking the stars down on day 7. I really want to use this sentiment that says, it's like, hello, goodbye, something. It feels really applicable to goals, but I cannot find a spot that I like it. It just feels, I don't know, it feels weird with everything else that I'm doing. So I stick the love to say thing down. Now I'm cutting that 4x6 card into a 3x4 card, adding the 7 and then adding I added that little circle sticker to actually write Cultivate Your Year Live. I did have to grab the Sharpie, which I don't love how not dark it is, but it's the only permanent pen that I had. And then I kind of tell the story about working on our goals and how much I miss being in person, but I'm glad that we could still get together and finish our power sheets together, and how honored I was that they invited me to have a little cameo on the screen. It was so fun to see everybody's reaction when my little face popped up. It was really exciting. I finally figure out that I can stick this little sentiment that I like on the bottom and have it kind of overlap both pictures, but I end up putting it on the outside of the page protector. So I go ahead and stick the photos in and then stick the little sentiment on top. And that is day 6 and day 7. So I went ahead and did 2 days for 8 and 9 as well, because for day 9, I took the picture first thing in the morning when I was at the gym. So I just went ahead and got them both printed and picked them both up. Actually, my mom picked them both up, and then went ahead and did days 8 and 9 also as sort of a spread. So day 8 is us watching the movie Noelle, and I just thought it was fun because we watched that movie for the first time as part of Vlogmas last year, and I actually think it was my day 1 story of Vlogmas 2019, and so I liked including it this year. So I pulled out a couple things, some different numbers. I got the white 9 and the clear 9 from last year. It's left over. And then I got this silver 8, which a sweet member of my community sent me a package of those silver numbers. So I'm cutting down the photo here of the gym from a 4x6 to a 3x6 so that I could stick it in this page protector that's got a space for a 3x6 and then a space for a 2x3, which I'm going to have that little card in there that I'm actually going to write on. And then I am going through to see if I can find some other embellishments for there's just more space on the photos. So I grabbed this story is so typical for the gym one because I'm talking about how I took a hiatus from the gym and then ended up going back, it's pretty typical. I feel like that's pretty common for all of us, to take some time off and then get back on it. So I'm trying to just go through all of my embellishments. Doing the last 9 days, I have been very consistent, and I have December day lead, if it's a verb, almost every single day, and that's been great. But I will say that my supplies have gotten a lot more mixed up. Working on it every day, I'm not always the best at putting them back in their places, and so it's kind of a mess at this point. I should take a day soon to kind of organize my supplies. So I start playing around with the stars here. I don't end up quite going with this organization of stars, but I do end up putting stars in that top right corner. I end up switching out the cards. I don't use the green circle and that other green December card. For whatever reason, I don't know. I wanted something different. So I went and grabbed this quiet and cozy little quote card. And then I grabbed one that says the story that has space for me to write. And then I go back to playing with the stars, changing my mind about which stars I want and which direction I want them to face and how I want them to overlap and whatnot. So it takes me a while to finally solidify that I just want the one black star with the writing and then a little white wood star on top. So I staple that 8 on there and then use the red line tape to get the stars down on the picture. I do like using stars a lot in December Daily, and so does Allie. That's why there's always a star embellishments every year. So I don't write too much about watching the movie, just the fact that I watched it last year and this year I fell asleep on the couch because I am very tired from all of the things that I've got going on this year. And then I write a quick story about how I went back to the gym for the first time in a really long time and just kind of wrote it around that little circled chipboard piece. Sometimes I don't love looking at my own handwriting in these projects because I don't feel like it's my nicest handwriting. I don't know if I'm rushing because I'm filming. So some days I really wish I typed it, but I know having my handwriting there will be nice in the long run. All right, and then day 10 is Hanukkah. So we had this amazing Hanukkah meal. I decided to do something special for Sam since we weren't spending Hanukkah with any of family or friends. I mean, we're spending it with my family, but any Jewish family or friends. And so I ordered a meal from this restaurant that was recommended by a friend, and the instructions, the menu and then the reheating instructions were on this 8.5 by 11 cardstock. And so I decided to get a little bit creative and I decided to fold the cardstock in half. And that is what I'm going to punch into the album. And I'm going to put a photo on the inside of the cardstock. And then on the other side, I pulled out this 3x8 quote sheet. On the opposite facing side from the cardstock is the 3x8 from yesterday. And so I printed out a couple little 2x3 photos of the food before it was prepared to put at the top. And then I'm going to just do my journaling on the bottom part. So here I am trying to cut the cardstock so that it would only be 8 inches across instead of 8.5 because it's an 8.5 by 11. And my cutting board thing would not pull out. So I'm struggling a little bit to measure it perfectly. And I decide finally just to go for it. And then I'm going to measure it based on the photo because the photo is 8 inches tall. It's a 6x8 photo that I got printed at CVS because they print in 6x8, which is awesome. I do have to cut the photo down a little bit more though, because I decided to put it on the other side so that the punched part that shows through in the album is the white from the quote, not the picture. I also will have to cut the quote down just a little bit because it's a little bit bigger than 6x8. But I decided to go ahead and glue both things down first, and then I figured I could do the remainder of the cutting to get everything perfectly sized once it's all glued down. So I start with the picture, I end up having to fix it to get it straight, and then I move on to the quote. I thought that this quote was just absolutely perfect because it was neutral colors, so it fit with Hanukkah, but then it was also about being bright and light, that's this theme of Hanukkah, is letting your spirits be bright. I just loved that. I thought it was just a perfect sentiment. So now I am working on cutting the other page. So I'm cutting down this big 6x8 page to be just 3x6 to fit into that little pocket. And then I consider adding the silver 10 on top. And the reason I decided not to is because you can still see the silver 8 from yesterday or the day before. And I didn't want you to be able to see 2 silver numbers at once. I do try to have different numbers on every single day, and I like them to be different. So now I'm picking out some embellishments. I decided to go with a couple little meal phrases that are from the meal kit from Allie Edwards, and then a bunch of stars. That just seems to be the theme, is all of the stars. So I end up actually pulling out a few corkboard stars to pull in here. So it's going to end up being a combination of these corkboard stars and then the punch stars, mostly in the gray color. And I add them in 3 different places to kind of bring consistency. So I add some on the photo of the food before it's prepared, on the quote, and then you actually can't see it, but it's in the bottom right corner of that other photo. So I'm gluing the 10 down at the bottom of that page, and now it is time to write my journaling. And I'm just telling the story about how I wanted to do something special for Sam. And so I ordered this traditional Jewish meal with brisket and kugel and latkes, and it was absolutely delicious. And we got to talk about Hanukkah. We've celebrated Hanukkah with my family here before because it's overlapped with Christmas, and we always come home for Christmas. But it's kind of nice for it to have its own day earlier in the month. So now I am gluing the picture on the back of the card from yesterday and then rounding the corners. I know that one of you sent me a corner punch over the summer, but I left it in New York. I didn't bring it with me and I'm kind of bummed. I don't know if it would have worked out perfectly, but I did have to do all that by hand. Now I'm putting red line tape on the corkboard stars so that I can stick those down. I wish everything just came with the automatic sticky on the back. It would just make everything so much easier. And now it is time to put those in the page protectors and sticking down the stars on the other side of the page. And then all I have left to do is punch holes into the quote so that it actually goes into the album. So that is going to be it for this video. If you liked it, please give it a thumbs up. If you're new here, please click that subscribe button. I upload new videos every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Thank you so much for watching. Happy planning.